Yeah. Okay, well, it's been a while since I've done recordings. I think it was 2000 and, I don't know, 22. I don't know. It hasn't been that long. But it's been a while. I would say at least a year. And so I'm going to have dreams for you for September 2024. My first one is Friend M. My friend M and I were checking into a hotel together, which is kind of odd. I wasn't really acting myself. I was acting more like a snob. So in real life, I just watched the movie Eileen with Anne Hathaway as a character of Rebecca and Thomas and Mackenzie as a character Eileen. Rebecca kind of reminds me of myself in this dream. Okay, so I think it might have triggered the dream because my friend isn't really a snob. She loves New York. I don't really like New York. It's too big, too many people for me. But anyway, she's not really a snob. But anyway, so the next dream is the letter D. Similar from Resembles Lucy. This is Lucy Lawless, the actress. Is sitting on a bus, more so trolley. I think she is a professor at a college. One of her male students is on the bus and is avoiding eye contact with her. He may have gotten one or more D grades in his classes. So I vaguely remember this. I think that he got on the bus and then she got on and he didn't do too well in her class. And they were sitting on, well, like when you get on the bus and there are seats right there to the right. Remember, I can see him sitting there. Okay, I see an area in the dream that looks familiar but cannot recall from where it's a grocery store. My mom was alive in this dream, and for whatever reason, she doesn't seem to have contact with me. There is a guy who is pitching a green tent in the woods. Okay. Sorry about this back over here, but I can't move this because it's being touchy with the charging. So, you know, my mom passed away a very long time ago, in 2022 in October. And once in a blue moon, I still have dreams about her, but sometimes it's like just a mother figure. And so in this dream, she doesn't have contact with me for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on. And then I say, I didn't tell anyone. I start to cry. Okay, well, that's something similar just kind of happened, I would say, within the last 2 or 3 months. Anyway, so the next dream is Nicaragua-Baja. Such a strange dream. I heard the country pronounced slowly, Nick-U-Agua. I saw the Baja Peninsula, then a young woman with red hair and another woman, possibly me, said, "Come here, you." And they were participating in a sex act. Why would anyone want to go to Nicaragua? And why would I be seeing Baja in dream? Okay, so what I saw in the dream, you know, Nick, it could be someone's name named Nick, but they were two lesbians. Well, and they were somewhere in a house or like maybe a dorm or something. But one of them was there, and she's told her to come here to Nicaragua. And they participated in a sex act or whatever. But I don't remember their names or whatever, or why, you know, why the woman told her to come down there in Nicaragua. Anyway, Somolian and Wallet. I was waiting at a bus stop and was suspicious of the Somalian man for some reason. He came by me and set a wallet on this mailbox. I saw the idea of a dark-haired male. I put the wallet in the mailbox and then realized the mailbox was a green color mailbox. In real life, I've been told that if you find a wallet, to put it in the mailbox, which I have actually done once. Somalian and Wallet. I remember this. I remember the bus stop, and I know where it was at exactly, in the Midwest. And I don't know why he would set a wallet like on like before you mail something, he just set it there. And so, I mean, I guess there was an idea of a dark-haired male. And then it looks like I put the wallet in the mailbox. But then the mailbox was a green color mailbox, which I don't know, doesn't really make any sense. So, you know, I was told a long time ago that if you find a wallet, that you should put it in the mailbox. And I remember I did find a wallet once, and I did open it up, and I think it was a woman's wallet, and I didn't even look if they had any cash. This is a long time ago, and I think most people would have taken the cash or whatever, but I thought, well, what if this is this woman's last dollar? You know, and then I put it in the mailbox. And this was quite a long time ago. I would say at least 20 years. So, making out, it was nighttime. I was in a dorm room with bunk beds. 2 young lesbians were clothed and making out on the floor. Another woman who reminds me of my mom, deceased, and myself were in the same room as well. I remember this dream. Okay, it was, there was some place that I stayed recently, not recently, but within the last year or so. And it was kind of like that kind of room in which there's a bunch, it's like almost like a shelter for women. But, and it could have been a hostel too, because there's bunk beds there. It could have been that. But it was really weird because there was this like, there was 2 twin, you know, like two bunk beds sets, okay, twins. And there was this other woman who was older than me that was there. And then I was there. I don't know if I was like across from her. And I don't know if I was on the top bunk or the bottom. I don't remember. But so there were these 2 lesbians that, and I don't know if they just came in or what happened, but they were on the floor on top of each other making out. And I thought, well, that's really weird. So that's why I think it must be a hostel. You know, but still, I don't know. It was just really weird. Youngest bro. Oh, now we're in October of 2024. My youngest brother and I were out east. It didn't look like him. So every now and then I have dreams about my youngest brother. He is like, you know, he told me the South will always is his home, and for me, the Southwest and the West Coast is like my home. So he's been out east, and he's South. He likes that, and so. Staying in a dorm. Okay, so here's another dorm. I briefly was in Colorado. I should have never trusted him. There was a walk-in area for possibly a hospital. There was a college kid with blonde hair who needed some help from me. Then I was staying with a college young woman. She had a sister that I knew. I'm not for sure if this is me in the dream or not. Why would I be staying in a dorm room at my age? Okay, she was telling me about your boyfriend, or probably her boyfriend. It was off and on again situation. She had a bubbly personality. Her mom was around as well. I recall going to a place, possibly a movie theater, that also had another store as well, 2 weeks. Okay. So I don't know, every now and then I sometimes hear things in, you know, like what is being said in the dream. It says, I should never have trusted him. So I don't know who him is, but I was in Colorado. There was a walk-in area for possibly a hospital. So I think it was kind of what was going on in the dream is that I think that I was staying at the hostel and kind of helping this young woman out because her boyfriend, it sounds like it was tumultuous and it was on and off again. So she kind of needed someone to be there to help her financially because of their issues with her boyfriend. I do remember this, that we were both sitting at a long cafeteria table. I remember that. And I don't remember the movie theater at all. Open room. I had a dream that was in dark room and some guy was around and there were things going on sexually. This is a weird stuff going on here. I recall saying, "Who is that?" The next thing really is a wooden floor in an open, I recall, is there's a wooden floor in an open available apartment. Okay. So I think someone told me about some guy or mentioned some guy's name and I was like, well, who is that? Okay. So this is an apartment that I don't remember what the apartment looked like. Okay, so course of travel. There was an area that some homeless people were crashing out outside in warmer weather, desert climate. I'm traveling from a southwest state, possibly California, Arizona, and maybe Nevada. I can see the travel northern direction on U.S. map. Okay. So what I remember is I remember seeing like a map of the United States and it going like this, okay, to the Midwest. And I think it was actually California that they were coming from, but it was still kind of that area. Boisterous Friends. Okay, now we're in November of 2024. I was somewhere out west, possibly California. A group of friends were all sitting in the front room and being loud, but having fun. They saw me walking and they picked me up with their truck. I hesitantly gave the female manager rent mid-month. I got a glimpse of a YouTube that used to live at the slabs. Save you. Okay. Well, nobody saved me, but Boisterous Friends. Yeah, I just remember that they were in California and they had a couch and they were just sitting around, enjoying each other's company, you know, being loud, having fun and stuff like that. And then I don't know. I think it was maybe a woman and another woman. They saw me walking down the desert. I do know where this is at in the dream. At some place I've never been, but I know where it is. And they picked me up. They gave me a ride. So, and you know, I did in real life, I gave the manager the deposit and rent. And so, fight to go back. I was talking on my phone with a friend, and after the phone call, there was this creepy guy in the background listening to our conversation. He was saying strange things, but cannot remember what he said. I was then putting tents into a storage facility in a former state. Not sure. I thought, why not LA? Let's see here. So I think, you know, this happened, in real life. It wasn't, this was like, yeah, so there was like, with this, there was a creepy guy in the background that I heard, listening to the conversation. So my phone has been hacked for I don't know how long. You know how I put in a phone number and it's the same destination, okay? And I don't remember what he said, but he was kind of creepy. In a former state, not sure. Okay, fight to go back. Okay, so this somewhat happened in real life. It wasn't California, but the state I'm in now, they wanted to pawn me off to a different state, like a previous state. And that, I would never go back there, okay? Because I had said, well, I'll never go back to the state ever again. I hated it there. It just was not my cup of tea. It was out east. And I just didn't fit in. I mean, I don't usually fit in general, but it was not, you know, it was not a good place for me. I mean, I saw like so many sixes, 3 6s in a row out of all the states I've, you know, some of the states that I've lived. I've never seen so many 3 6s. So. Commotion. I had this dream while crashing at a friend's place. Several African American women in her building were having some kind of commotion. I don't know why they were so upset. Okay, so the commotion, I don't know what was going on, but it was taking place at a friend of mine's apartment complex, and something was going on. The women were, something happened or whatever. I don't think it was really bad, although there was something that happened across from them in a store. But this, I don't know what was going on there. Hopping to another rooftop. Okay, I was standing on a rooftop with 2 men. One of them had dark hair and brown eyes, and the other guy, I can't remember what he looks like. Then I just hopped on over to the next rooftop, even though it was too far for me to hop. Okay, so I know what this is about. So there was this apartments management team, and I was dealing with mainly females in the beginning, and then there was a guy that came up, and he may have been the place that I hopped over to a different roof, a different building, and I don't recall ever having to communicate with a guy, so, but I know that he was behind that, and but it was the same management, and so far it hasn't worked out. I mean, I signed a lease here, and I waited and waited and waited for them, and they were just taking their time, and then they were waiting for something, and then, you know, by the time I was here. So, my nephew. I had another dream about my nephew who just passed away in real life. He was alive again and sitting in a thread bar pea green chair. He looked younger, skinny, and he had a different hairstyle. He had a twinkle in his eye and he generally looked happy and vibrant. He was smiling when he looked at me. I walked into a room with a very long table that African American women were sitting. Okay, so I don't know what that's about, but something, so my nephew passed away, unfortunately, but then I had a dream about him, and I never been to his apartment. And he was sitting in a thread bar, like green chair. And he was younger, and he was happy. And this was, you know, I don't really want to go into it. But anyway, so, and I'm going to mention this, you know, and his apartment. That there's been 2 different, in the matter of 6 months, there's been 2 different people who've moved in and out of his apartment, and they see like shadows or some weird shit. And that's what one of my relatives told me. So something else that happened, and this happened in real life. I meant as far, and it was spooky. It was just eerie. Okay. On October 19th of last year, which is my mother's death, she died October 19th, 2000. And so what happened is I went to this church event, okay, and we had to separate in different groups, okay? I think they just gave you a number, and that's how you did it, okay? So what was really trippy was that, and I told my brother this, and I told a friend, she was there with me. There were people that were there, their names were of deceased relatives of mine, and there was about 4 or 5 of them, okay? I'm going to try. It was a grandmother on my father's side. It was her daughter which would be my aunt. Okay, and then there was an uncle on my mom's side, and there was who else was there? Okay, okay, and then it was, I think it was my uncle's sister. It was another cousin, but it was on my mom's side. Okay, and I'm trying to think if that's all of them. Okay, so, and they were all deceased. Okay, I'm trying to think there. I think maybe I might be missing one name, but I wrote it down, right? Because I'm thinking, oh wow, this is really weird. You know, there's like 4 or 5 different people with the same names of deceased relatives, right? And so what ended up happening a little later, and I told my brother about this like weeks later, I saw my relative, the one who passed away, okay? And I thought to myself, oh, what are you doing here? I thought to myself, what are you doing here? You're still alive. And I swear on my mother's grave, he died within like a week or two. It was really bizarre. And I didn't tell my brother until maybe a month later, because I was afraid to tell him. And I didn't talk to this guy. I just thought, wow, that's really weird. You know, he's alive and all these, and then that happened. So that was very sad. It was like, and then it happened, and it was like, wow. So the next dream is Traveler. A young woman wearing white pants is walking. She has a lot of papers, and then she is in a foreign country, and next to a box of pieces of cloth material. Yeah, so this was kind of weird. She was in a foreign country. I think it might have been like a mid-east or an eastern country, and there was just these rags or clothing, and that's all I kind of remember of her. Grab foot. Okay. This really isn't a dream. I was asleep on the couch when someone male grabbed my foot. Something unusual has been happening. I fell in love but was rejected. Oh, fell in love. Okay, rating from my heart. Okay, this is November 24th, which really hasn't happened too much, if ever. As my heart was radiating love, I started to cry in real life and felt sad. I fell in love, an older woman, whatever. So I don't know. I don't really want to go into this. But anyway, basically this woman, there was a woman and a man being sexual with each other. Okay. And it meant nothing to her. That's what I heard. And then I wrote down the hours. Okay. So, anyway, I wouldn't have usually said that, but I don't really want to start all over again, because that really has nothing to do with, it really has nothing to do with the dreams or whatever. I have been documenting, and I was calling it something else, but the book that writes itself, and what it is, if like I just, thoughts that come up and this and that, and I've been writing it all down. I've been doing it for like a year or two, because I haven't been having that many dreams. So I just write it down, and some of the stuff that I wrote down has come true. I don't know about how much, but anyway. So the next dream is leather jacket. Me or someone else was in an area with young homeless people. I'm sure of location. Oh, I'm not sure of the location. I remember thinking, where am I going to spend the night? My place was open until 4 or 5 in the morning. I think it was 4. I had my 90s jacket did I wear much? I didn't wear much. And for whatever reason, it was tore up in pieces. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. I think this took place out east, and I was there. There was these younger homeless people, and I think that it was like really like we were just kind of all hanging out at this place where you could stay, And I was thinking, where are we going to go after this? It might have been like 3 or 4 you could be there till. And I don't know why I had my 90s jacket. I really like that leather jacket, by the way. Okay, Johnny, this is the last one as far as November. I had a dream about, okay, well, it's an actor, but it wasn't him. It kind of looked like him. He seemed to be somewhat out of it. He was younger. Vision sitting at desk talking to somebody. I didn't know it was going to happen. Not safe. Okay, so like sometimes, you know, like if it's, sometimes it's just, I know I said that it's an actor, but sometimes it's just a person's name. Johnny. Okay, so sometimes I get some, like, people's name. You know, so that's what that's about. It wasn't him. It wasn't the actor, though. But anyway, so that's going to be it for Blue Girls Dream Journal. And thank you for watching.